greatest co-host in the world, Y2K99. Get ready to rumble!
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly crevasse
That is the best intro I have ever received.
the world. The Buffalo Jets man.
Yo,
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be. I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well. You know, it's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4.3 speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
right.
To get
You're a
onto
cheater.
you, I'm a cheater. And here we are on Friday nights. We're getting so close. I don't want my vacation to end, but I'm kind of excited about Sunday. I'm not going to lie. I just want to get this game going. I want to see some good football. We haven't seen some good football in a while. It feels like forever. That Jacksonville game was a nightmare. So it's going to be exciting. I want to point something out that I just noticed. There's a star next to Tony Alexio's name. So Tony Alexio has joined and become a snacker. I love it. Thank you, Tony Alexio, for becoming a snacker. It's such a great way to support the channel for the price of a cup of coffee. Maybe more depending on which snacker you are, but maybe for the price of one lunch, buying your buddy lunch like a bald-headed guy like me. You get to be a snacker and you get all kinds of emoticons and all kinds of cool things that you could do. But you get that little mark next to your name. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. If you're wondering how you become a member of the channel, you just go to the main homepage and there's a little button called join. You look for the join button and that's how you do it. It's a great way to keep the lights on here. I mean, not that I'm going to lose the lights anyway, but it's an expression. It keeps the channel going. Twisted, what's going on, brother? It is time to get the freak on. I unblock people all the time. In my short temper, I block them and then I unblock them. I can't make up my mind. Jets mess. Another snacker. Twisted's a snacker. Mess is a snacker. This show started with snacker. I mean, it's just this endless thing of snackers. And then we got Weed the People here. Good to see you, buddy. Let's do some Friday night hangout. We got some things going on here. I'm waiting. I got somebody coming in, but it looks like they're struggling with the camera and things, so they're messing around. They're laughing. They got their hoodie on because they're too cheap to put the heat on in their house. I'm just kidding. I just had to put the heat on up here. But you know what? The thing about heat is you run it for 2 minutes and you're like, okay, enough. It's like suffocating. I'd rather just be cold, Sean McAteer is here, the guardian of Temecula Valley. We appreciate you, man. We wouldn't have Ween's Winery. We wouldn't have the Pachango Casino. None of those places would be safe if not for the guardianship of Sean McAteer and his other 2 McAteers who have yet to meet yet. Wild Wave is in the house. What's going on, Wild Wave? It's good to see you. And we got Thomas Cahill here, good friend of mine. And we got Ant 182. What's going on, brother? So without further ado, let's get him in here. You know it. You love him. He tells he's the poet of the 2 of us. But, he doubles the chaos. And that's the most important thing. my brother Lee. Let's go.
Best brother in the world.
In the world. Okay.
You don't do that anymore.
I do that sometimes. Yero Gaetan Jr. is in the house. What's going on, Yero? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I'm trying to be fancy.
How's that?
Trying to be appropriate. And we got, of course, Ronald Perry in the house. Ronald Perry, you can find him everywhere now. Just go to any Jets YouTube channel, any show. Ronald Perry's there, ready to throw down and talk Jets. So we got a big game coming up against Seattle.
It's the game. We've said it before, and we keep getting new chances, but there will not be a new chance after this.
Yeah, this is it. This is a must win.
As must as it gets.
As must as it gets. I think your favorite quarterback on the team, as far as the quarterback you believe the most in at the moment, as far as skill and ability to win, is in, and that guy's name is Mike White.
And you said it correctly. You know, he's the best we have right now, and we get to use him. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you got to look at the Jacksonville game, and when you look at that game, and then you consider, the New England game with Zach before he got benched for the first reset, and then you look at all the games of Mike White, win or lose, it's one thing is very obvious. We're a much better team, a much higher level team when Mike White is a quarterback.
Yeah. But more than that, what's most important to me, okay, is that I feel more confident when he's in. Like, we can win the game. So that's most important to me.
I mean, I feel like when not to beat up a dead horse, but I feel like when Zach is starting and when he's in, I'm like, okay, we might be able to get a win, but it's going to be like an efficient win, like where he doesn't make any mistakes and we manage to he just does enough. But it doesn't make me feel like when Mike White is in, I'm excited about Garrett Wilson and how many yards is he going to get? And is this going to be a big day for Elijah and even Denzel Mims? And I'm excited to see the ball being whipped around the field to our receivers. And I feel like that doesn't exist when Mike White is not in the game.
We never knew we had that he had it in him, really. I mean, some people did. Some people always believed, but for me, it was just, that Bears game just showed he could zip that ball in quickly. Again, without an offensive line, you need that kind of a quarterback. Someone that just reads it, reacts immediately, gets rid of it right away. And he does. So we're good. You want my opinion about the game, my man?
Yeah. What's your opinion about the game?
It's simple, baby. On the defensive side, we got a great defense. We don't allow a lot of points. There's no reason to allow a lot of points to Seattle. We've faced other really good offenses, and we've held them. There's no reason to think they could possibly break 20 unless we give them points. Only our offense could get them to 20 points. Our defense is never, and our special teams could let them get there, as we've seen with the punt returns. But they're never going to do it with their offense. So that's a comforting feeling, right? So we're definitely holding them 13, 17, 10, whatever.
Yeah.
On the offense, for me, I believe in Mike White. I do. I don't think he's apt to turn the ball over very frequently. I think he holds on to the ball. If he's going to get hit, he takes quite a wallop and he still comes back. So it's just hard not to imagine him getting to 20 for me. I think he's playing more than anybody on that field. It doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think. He's playing for millions and millions of dollars the rest of his, career. Basically, probably 10 to 15 years of 5 to 10 million extra dollars. So that guy wants to do whatever it takes to win. I mean, no one wants to win more than he wants to win.
Yeah, I feel the same way about this game. I mean, I feel like there's no reason why the defense would give up more than 13 points, possibly 17. But more importantly, I think part of the reason is because the offense is not going to stick them on the field 1, 2, 3 and out, 1, 2, 3 and out, 1, 2, 3 and out until they get exhausted and they break. I feel more confident that regardless of whatever struggles we have of getting it into the end zone, we move the ball. We're a real football team. We have real drives when Mike White is in there.
Many.
And against Seattle's defense, I don't see why we wouldn't. There's nothing.
They're one of the worst passing defenses in the league. There's no reason we can't cut them up.
So there's a good chance that Garrett Wilson's going to slice him up. And Garrett Wilson, by the way, we're seeing, for him to have, he's I don't know if you know this, he's 4 yards short of 1,000 yards. Think of how amazing that is when you think of how bad the quarterback play has been by Zach Wilson with the games he played, early games with Joe Flacco, the games where we had 150 yards passing. When you think about all of that, now you have this rookie that he's on the verge. He's going to go, his first reception, he'll be over 1,000 yards. The Jets haven't had 1,000-yard receiver, it feels like forever. And a rookie getting 1,000 yards. I mean, I feel like we're watching the beginning of a superstar, like a real, genuine superstar wide receiver.
It's so exciting. But the thing about the Jets right now is the list goes on and on about potential superstars or superstars.
It's crazy. Like franchise-altering players, AVT, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yes, amazing.
Like very, very big guy. I mean, Breece Hall, if he doesn't get hurt, was already a franchise-altering type of player. He was like this home run hitter where every game he'd swing the pendulum 7 points in our favor.
If I'm going to be a negative ninny, I'm going to say all we're really missing is a quarterback, but really an offensive line. I mean, maybe AVT will help. I mean, we need to protect the quarterback better, but we don't really have that star amazing quarterback, but there aren't that many of them. I've been studying the stats like crazy. So many of these quarterbacks that we look at is, we can take them. We want them. If you look at their stats and they're throwing interceptions often and they're making the same bonehead plays now and then, right? It's just a matter of less. So maybe Mike White is like, I mean, he doesn't have the mobility is the problem, but maybe because he gets rid of the ball fast, maybe he's the guy a little bit longer term. I don't know. I'm not sold on that. I'm sold on this run.
Yeah, I think the thing about Mike White is I don't trust anybody who swears to know either way. Like if somebody sits there and goes, Mike White is absolutely not and will never be able to be good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I look at that person and I think, what is that person basing that on? Yeah. But it's also the same thing as the person who says Mike White is a superstar. He should be playing every game. And he's already a middle tier, the 15th best quarterback in the league. I'm like, what is that guy basing it on? I don't think there's evidence of either. And I think that the next 2 games, especially if he wins them and builds it to more games where you get a playoff game. Yeah. I think that's why I don't want to talk too much about quarterback for next season, because I think that we're not done with this one yet.
No, we're not done with the season.
Trying out Mike White.
Why would we and should we predict about that? I don't think so at all. Let's go win. Let's go support our quarterback that we have. Let's win. We haven't talked about my little Streveler prediction, and I still predict that we are going to see Streveler. And I think it's going to be in the red zone. I think when we're in the red zone, in a place where we have to get a couple of yards, Streveler gives the other team fits. They probably are preparing for it a little bit, but not tons. So I think that it gives us a little edge in the red zone to get a big first down or a big touchdown when we need it.
They like to get pretty fancy. We have another person joining us in a second, but I did want to acknowledge just one message from Matthew Frank. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember going to the playoffs with Bruce Coslett. That was one of the very few meaningful games we've had with Miami that's really meaningful. I mean, playoff impact meaningful. It's only been a few since the big games we used to have with them in the late 80s and, of course, the Mud Bowl. But like in the 90s and 2000s, there really haven't been a lot, like a high volume of big Miami/Jet games. So it is kind of exciting that if we could beat Seattle, we'll finally have one. We'll have a really big game. So I love Matt B's confidence that Mike White's going to have a big game. I love that Salty Nalty is here in the house, which is super cool. Good to see you, my brother.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah.
I want to say that
I'll 2Ks here.
Hey, if anybody has ideas about what the background should be, send me pictures. Send Jeremy pictures. So tell me. I'll put something else in the background. Jeremy sent me this from opening day. He took this picture for me to run coverage of the game. And I've been using it ever since because it was, we lost, but it was still a great day.
So before I'm going to bring up the super chat, but I'm also going to bring in the man with the plan, Domsey.
Gentlemen. Hey, Lee, Jeremy, how are you guys?
We are good. We're good. This is a little potpourri we're going to have today. We're going to talk about the game, but we're also going to talk about, I don't know, Domsey, if you're ready, but if you want to look at some film later, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about some prospects. I'm even ready to just bring up the mock draft simulator just to look at some of the names and just talk about some of the names, do some of that.
I have been the past 2 weeks just engulfed knee deep in prospect film. So, that's my forte, and I'm good to go whenever you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, even with the season still going, it's still tempting. Like you saw, I put out a video today about our safety that I know we both want on this team. It's hard not to start thinking ahead, just as we see some of the holes in the team. There's an obvious hole at safety, and it's hard not to notice that there's this kid playing for Alabama that would be such a perfect fit for our team. Super chat from Tony Alexio. I have a feeling I know what it's going to be about. Best preseason in over 50 years. We want Streveler time for backup and fullback. He wants him as the fullback. I think Streveler should be our fullback. I was thinking Streveler would be an ideal tight end if he was going to convert to a position.
I like him as a surprise QB. They're not expecting it that much. I mean, they're going to prepare a little bit, but how much can they prepare? They're preparing for Mike White, right? So I love the idea of him coming in on tough short yardage plays.
Tom, what do you think about Streveler? Do you think he's going to dress this Sunday? Do you think my brother's right? Do you think we might see him in the red zone?
I don't, unfortunately. I think, with so many holes and still so many question marks on what we're dealing with this Sunday, with LaMarcus Joyner, trending towards playing, but still questionable. Herbig with his ankle, trending towards playing, but still questionable. Denzel Mims coming back from the concussion, trending towards playing, still questionable. I just think there's too much of that roster gymnastics that has to happen, where I think personally that 53rd dressed man would be better suited as someone who might affect the game in a much more serious, I don't know if that's the right word, serious manner, if need be, than Streveler. Listen, it was great. It was cute. But truth be told, Mike White goes down. It doesn't matter if we have the corpse of Joe Flacco, Chris Streveler, Jeremy Cravette. It doesn't matter who's in there.
I don't think Streveler's going to win us the game, Dom. Yeah. But I think that we had a lot of trouble in the red zone. We had a lot of trouble getting in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And I think it gives the opposing team fits. Streveler comes out, gets behind center, just 3 plays all game, and they don't know what he's going to do. I just think that gives us an edge. And from what I've seen, we have a problem getting the ball in. Yeah. And so I just like having that edge.
Listen, I mean, it makes sense. It's logical. I just don't know if, with the roster constituted as it is and so many question marks being there, that's a luxury we can afford. That's just that's my opinion.
I totally get it. I think Salah said something to that effect today at the press conference. He said he didn't say whether Streveler was suiting up or not, because he said that there were too many players that were unknown, situation right now, and a lot of juggling he had to do. So I totally get what you're saying. I'm telling you what I'm hoping for.
Well, listen, Streveler did play. He came in college, University of Minnesota. He was a wide receiver. He didn't start playing quarterback until he was up in the CFL. So he does.
Is it me or
offer quarterbacks don't have outside of Taysom Hill. So,
look, I don't know which I thought there was a possibility because I know that Jeff Smith's not going to play. I thought, but then again, when they used to have Jeff Smith active, they had Mims inactive, and Mims will be active, so it still doesn't open up a spot. So yeah, I think it's a question of numbers. I think that if 53 people got to dress and not 48, I think there's no question that you might see Streveler come in a package near the end zone. But I think the problem becomes it's just a balance of, this or that. One argument for Streveler playing would be that Mike White does have the bruised ribs, possibly one hit he could be out of the game. Then you're stuck with the statue of Flacco. Then what if Flacco gets hurt? Are you really going to go with Berrios as your backup?
Well, I think Jeff Smith would be, if healthy, would be the emergency quarterback. But I guess after that, it's who can throw the ball.
It would be Braxton Berrios is the
God help us.
I know Flacco has had great years, but just based on what we've seen this year, he has no mobility. He's not getting rid of the ball quickly, and we have no protection for him. So I just don't get Streveler as I can't see him winning the game for us either, but I don't see how Flacco possibly could. If it came to that.
Yeah, it's hard to see it.
We'd be in big trouble.
It's no matter what, we're in tremendous trouble. Tremendous trouble. Which I think would be the biggest argument. There are some people, I'm not one of them, but there are some people mad that Zach Wilson isn't the backup quarterback because as much as he struggled, a lot of people, he has been like a roller coaster type quarterback. And if there was an injury, it's not impossible that Zach Wilson would come in and have one of his better games, where he'd be okay and functional, and he's not a statue and he's very mobile. And a lot of people think, why does the demotion have to be you're either the starter or you're not even playing? But then part of me realizes how bad he looked against Jacksonville and just thinks he might really be the worst quarterback on the roster.
He might, he might. It's not out of question. But
they think he is. The coaching staff thinks he is.
I just think that they need to, for Zach, just needs to kind of step back, step away, reset, let the team focus on the matter at hand right now, and that's one game at a time, winning and seeing if we can make a push for this thing.
One thing I'm excited about with White in there is that he'll get rid of the ball fast.
Oh yeah,
and so they're going to have to get out of the box, and that's going to open up the running game, and we can see some actual strategic offense.
Yeah, well, and that's a point that has been, so evident since Bill Belichick kind of installed the Zach Wilson defense, as I like to call it, where you have 8 guys in the box at all times, fill in every single gap. You don't know where the pressure is going to come from. So you only have 5 offensive linemen and a tight end who doesn't know, where the rush is coming from, and say, beat me, Zach, and unfortunately he hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah, but Mike is.
Absolutely. It's a different ball game with Mike White. It's a different ball game.
I'm very excited to see that.
So I would be willing to say with a lot of confidence that we're going to see a rejuvenated running game.
Yeah.
Because you have to respect who's behind center a little bit more than they have in the past couple games.
Yeah, and if they don't respect it, then we're going to pass, and if they respect it, then we're going to run, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I think one thing that they say about White, and I think all successful quarterbacks, take what they give you, and then that's a changing equation as the game rolls on. But
yeah. Look, I think one of the things, the way I think the game opens up for us is, Tom, you pointed out all the time. Basically, every week, teams when Zach Wilson has played, the defense has put 8 guys in the box. They said, we're not going to respect you at all. 0 respect, as if you don't exist. All we have to do to stop this offense is stop the run. And it feels like go ahead and do it to Mike White, because I think we all have so much more confidence that if they want to do that with Mike White, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. We're going to whip the ball. He's going to whip the ball around the field.
Well,
and we're going to light you up with Elijah and Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis. We're going to light you up.
Yeah, I mean, and I think White has shown that, so that they know that. I mean, I don't think they're going to start with everybody. Who knows? Maybe they're going to start just to test, let him get a couple of completions, show he could do it, and then get out of the box.
But what I think is great is I think that helps us out. It changes everything for us. Because the second they don't do that and they can't get away with stacking that box, it brings back the running game. The running game that we saw for a few weeks that looked really good with Bam Knight.
And then the nice thing is, I know I'm not talking about what he did in his one really bad game last season when he was trying to catch up and put it all on his own shoulders, right? But other than that, he really hasn't been prone to throwing interceptions. He has not been prone to turnovers.
Mike White you're talking?
Huh?
You're talking about Mike White?
I am.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that if he doesn't turn the ball over and special teams holds on like with punts, the defense is not going to allow Seattle enough points to win the game.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, even the Minnesota game where he had 2 interceptions. I mean, you got to take the one at the end of the game away. He's trying to make a play and squeeze something out. And that first one was really, off of Corey Davis's between his hands and off his shoulder pads. I mean, that's just shit luck.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting because quarterback ratings, they just take the numbers; they don't look at any context.
That's right. That's right.
But in Mike White's case, we totally saw the context, and those points can go right back on his success ratio. It should have been caught, and you got to hail it up at the end like that. So
yeah, like Jeremy said on when Jeremy and I had the show on Wednesday, I said one of the big factors in us prevailing this Sunday is going to be to win the turnover battle, and I don't know if it necessarily means that we have to pick Geno Smith off 4 times. I think it means more so that we have to control the ball and not give it away more so than anything. And then hope that everything falls in line with the defense and we can get, jump on a fumble or a strip sack or, pick one off or something like that.
Yeah. I certainly want that, but I don't even think we need that. I think we just need to avoid the big F play, the BFP. We just have to have no negative BFP, and we win this game.
Yeah.
Look, I would like to see our defense really wake up this game. I think Seattle is missing somebody on the offensive line, which seems to happen every week.
Abraham Lucas is questionable with the knee. Yeah.
There you go. So their
right tackle.
It seems like the whole league, including us, just can't keep their offensive line healthy. So to me, the turnovers are just sometimes a measurement of how our defensive line plays. When our defensive line is totally owning it, we get turnovers.
Sure.
Right? When we don't get, so it's not so much the non-turnover that scares me. It's if we're not getting turnovers, maybe that means our defensive line is not getting home, and that means it's a long day for the defense. So that's my big fear. It's like, because when our defense does not really pressure a quarterback and really make their day hell, usually we have to sit there and bite our lips and deal with a lot of, I guess, just stressful, frustrating drives where we can't get off the field on 3rd down. They move, they're eating up a lot of the clock. They keep us out of rhythm. I just want it to be one of those days where we eat them alive. When that defensive line feasts, it's like we hold them to 1, 2, 3 and out. We're like, it's us. It's our offense that's always on the field. Like I like being in command that way, and I think the turnovers, if that happens, are going to take care of itself because they have to start pressing, and Geno will. If he's under pressure all day, he'll start pressing and he'll make the mistakes that he's been known to make because he does. He's been better at protecting the ball, but he has slipped off the last few weeks. He's not as good as he was the first 6-7 weeks of the season.
Correct.
And we've seen he has a history of throwing interceptions when he's trying to press.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we just have to expect as Jet fans and as any football fan is that they also are being coached to take what we give them. And we do give We give the dink passes because the best thing to give. If you're going to give something, you want to give the dink. You don't want to give running yards, and you don't want to give big passing plays or even medium ones. So you have to give that up. And our defense has been pretty good about getting on the ball quickly for the most part. I mean, there are a couple of big notable exceptions, but for the most part, keeping those dinks as dinks, not going for bigger yardage. And I think if we frustrate them to where they have to take those and keep them from getting a first down, then because on third down, those are less effective, right? We're looking for that kind of a thing.
Yep.
Then they'll go 3 and out, and that's gonna be a key to the game. As weird as it sounds, it's just keeping the dinks short yard gains.
Yeah. But then on those third downs, our defensive line has to get home.
Yes.
They just have to get home.
So I had posted something on Twitter earlier in the week. I thought it was an interesting, a little interesting chart, if you will, and it graded out all 32 teams by offensive line position. Their actual grade on what they determine, what they call a true pass set. True pass set is where the pass play is not influenced whatsoever in any way, shape, or form by the run, meaning no RPOs, no play action, no motion, this, that, or the other thing. Like just a true drop back and pass play.
Yeah.
And
37.
Exactly. Similar. And it doesn't have to be third down, but, to that point, yes, exactly. The play where you're dropping back and passing the ball. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The middle of Seattle's line, the center and the 2 guards rank in the bottom 3 in the NFL, and the center gets a grade of 60, which would put them 22nd in the NFL. The tackles are 64, which would put them that puts them right about 11th. So their weakness in those pass sets is up the middle. And where's our strength in our pass rush? You could say Bryce Huff around the edge is good, but more so, it's really what we can do with Quinn and Williams and Sheldon Rankins and all those twists, and John Franklin Myers coming from the outside inside. So advantage us there for sure. Their left tackle, their left tackle, Charles Cross, a rookie. He's been playing lights out. He's a really, really good player. And he came from an air raid style offense in college where he was known as the best pure pass blocker in the draft class last year. So, they're pretty strong at the left tackle. I think we're going to see a lot of game plays up front and a lot of twists. And this is going to be a really big chance for Quinnen to really set forth his dominance.
So when I really look for JJ and I look for Carl Lawson to seal the edges, especially because I noticed watching Gino, he likes to roll out.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to move around. He's not like super mobile, fast, kill you with his legs, but he likes to move around. He's more comfortable when he rolls out in space. So if we can pressure him up, like where he can't step up in the pocket and he's going to go left or right, I'd like to see guys like JJ there because they're the ones that get there.
Yeah.
Like, I love JJ. He's so underrated.
What do you guys think about an early blitz to take Gino off his game? Because he really gets off his game if you hit him hard. If he makes a big mistake, you guys think that's a likely thing? Can we see something like that early?
We could see it sometimes. I mean, realistically,
that's him.
That's him.
Jets are only blitzing 12%, not last, but lowest in the league. The lowest percentage of blitzes in the league.
Yeah,
and that's a testament to 2 things. One, to the confidence we have in the front 4 getting home, and 2, really living and standing by and believing in the system that we have, and not kind of, I don't want to say not adjusting, but really like trusting the process of what we have,
But like we knocked Miami right off their game by blitzing, boom, sauce, boom.
Yeah, boom.
I mean, it just seems to be like they're not expecting. We don't blitz a lot. Do a surprise blitz that we haven't done before.
What the last surprise blitz that we did was Detroit's tight end leak for the touchdown. That's the last time. That's the last time we went zero coverage, man to man, all the way across, and tried to bring some heat, and that didn't work out well.
No, it did definitely. Well, you're rolling the dice when you blitz. especially with our offense, right? I mean, the way it's set up when you're 4-3 and you blitz, you're leaving something open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'm not. Listen, I mean,
I just want to rattle him.
Yeah, absolutely. The blitz, the idea of blitzing is very, in and pretty, and it's fun and stuff like that. But I mean, if our defense is running on all cylinders, we're best suited with 7. We might give up that little 2-yard underneath route, but you're going to get stuck real quick. And we're not going to let you run on it.
And I think that's got to be our basic defense for this game. I'm just talking about a surprise way to send Gino a message, get him thinking. Yeah.
Just rattle him a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm all for rattling the quarterback. I'm all for rattling the quarterback for sure. Again, if I was a betting man and just looking at the statistics and the numbers of everything, we throw the lowest percentage of blitzes out in the entire league.
No, you're totally right, which is why it could be effective if they don't read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
If they don't adjust well.
I kind of think they have this strong belief that we have the 4 that can get there. We don't need to, and it's really hard to get yardage against us or do anything against us if the 4 of them are getting there. But at the same time, they don't do it a lot. It makes me think sometimes, like if we see it, it wouldn't shock me only because now it's such a do or die situation, and sometimes, coaches don't show things all year long, and they'd rather hold on to certain things as long as they can.
Well,
without having to show it. But now it's do or die time. So
yeah. Well, look at it like this, Jeremy. Let's flip the ball. Let's talk about the offensive side. And what's the one pet peeve that most Jets fans have with Mike LaFleur is that sometimes he tries to outthink everyone to the point where he outthinks himself. Right?
Yeah.
We're third and 1. We got an empty set in shotgun, no running back. Sometimes you just say, all right, listen, just run the ball. How many times have you said that to the screen? I know I probably have at least a dozen times this year.
Just pound it in.
Just pound the ball. You need to get 9 feet, right? You need to get 3 yards. You need to get 9 feet. Run the ball. But he tries to overthink it instead of doing what works. So with that same mindset, our defense is the sixth ranked defense according to DVOA. What we're doing works. We can get pressure on the quarterback. Our defensive backs in the scheme that they play are so good. With when we're in 2 deep zone, 3 deep zone, cover 6, it's so good. It just fits their skill set so good. Why mess with a good thing?
I really am with you. I mean, we're talking about potential things, but I start out by saying under 20. We have to give them points to get them to 17. We'll have to make some mistake to get him there because our D's not giving that up. So really,
I think the big thing, my big check mark, my big red flag or thing that I really want to be able to feel confident that I'm not is getting off the field on third downs. And maybe that will be with a blitz or whatnot, but it seems like when we let those offenses extend the plays and those drives get into 3, 4, 5, 6 minute drives and our defense is on the field and tired, the bend but don't break mentality will break eventually.
When good offenses are going to get some first downs.
Absolutely,
I'm with you. We got to get off the field, but sometimes it's not going to happen. What's to me again? I'm going to flip it over to the offense here. Having our offense run drives also gives our defense a break. So when you have a combination where they have 7 or 8 minute drives and then we have a 3-minute drive, that's super, super painful.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a double whammy. So I guess I trust Mike White to actually put some drives together and give our defense some rest. So.
Yeah, it feels like every quarterback not named Zach Wilson, to be honest, has been able to.
Streveler did it. Streveler did it.
Yeah,
Streveler did it, and he couldn't throw the ball into the ocean from the deck of the Titanic.
No, he couldn't.
And he was getting first down after first down after first down, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's just any quarterback that comes in. It's any level of functionality, and the offense looks completely different. I mean, it's just makes you realize just how bad the kid has been.
Yeah.
That anybody else that comes in and it works.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just so bad. He's been so terrible.
I was saying it on Green Bean show this morning. Like the Shanahan, it works. I'm sorry.
Nothing. You're freezing it a bunch of times. School.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
I don't know if it was me or what. I guess I got a bad connection. Let me check here. No, it looks pretty good.
I don't know why you just coming in and out, but repeat what you were saying. Rewind back to what you were saying.
I was saying that the Shanahan influence offense that we run, it works. You need three things. You need a quarterback who can scan and see scan and see the field, to a quarterback that makes good, quick, calculated decisions, and one that's going to manage the game and not turn the ball over.
You're describing Mike White, buddy boy.
Absolutely.
You're describing him. No, because what I love
Absolutely.
is when
I'm describing Josh Johnson, Mike White, Josh Johnson, Mike White last year. Anybody else that you put in there except this year. Am I still cutting out?
Yeah, you keep chopping up.
All right. I'm gonna get out of here and try to reboot and then come back in.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
So one of the reasons that I love Mike White, it's kind of a weird reason, but like that press conference where he knew every play, he knew who he looked off, why he looked them off. He was like describing, and it wasn't after he looked at the tape; it was right after the game, and he could talk about every passing play and how he knew not to go left and not to look right because that, like he was doing exactly as it's taught out of the book. And the guy totally understands the offense and the playbook. Totally. Execution, and I think he's executing it very well too. Mobility to me is his thing, and that's his problem.
He's super intelligent, like without question. He understands everything that's happening. He had that click moment in his life, like where he could see everything happening on the field. He's able to understand where he is. He could play to the speed of the game. He has he doesn't have the yips. Like he's able to stay. He's able to stay in the pocket to the last possible moment and take the hit and make the pass.
So one thing that's interesting is I love that he does that, but how long can his body take it? I mean, it's kind of an interesting question. I think
they have to protect him more.
Yeah.
Because
Did you see his press conference?
Rid of the ball. He gets rid of the ball fast enough that with good blocking, he'll never take a lot of hits. He's taking all those hits because they're literally not blocking for him.
Yeah. So do you see his last press conference? He was talking about texting with his friends.
He's so down to earth. He's such a regular guy.
He's so funny and he's so quick. And his wife, they were asking him, how do you avoid taking more of those hits? And he goes, my wife wants to know.
The best was, what'd your wife say to you or whatever? He goes, well, what was the moment you remember after the game, after the first game he played? And he goes, my wife saying, who are you? And he said, I'm Mike effing White.
But he's still doing it. He's still so funny and he's still down to earth. He was talking about playing with his kids and his kids tackling him with his ribs, so it's, you just got to love, he's obviously a real person there,
Yeah.
Welcome back.
And look what Rico the Pup is saying. I think all of us have said all along. It's like, we gave you the weapons, Zach, and that's to any quarterback on our team. The weapons are there. You have the plays. Just get the ball to your weapons.
Yeah.
And it's like, and guess what? The safety valve, when you're checking it down, Michael Carter's a good weapon. Bam Knight's a good weapon. If it's Conklin, good weapon. These are real weapons that you could check down to. We have no problem with you doing that, as long as you're not afraid to throw the ball to the guys when they're really open. And what I love about Mike White is he's not afraid to do it. Like if Garrett Wilson, Zach is waiting for them to be college open, whereas Mike White knows and understands NFL open. And you see that every time he throws the ball to Garrett Wilson, that he understands NFL open.
Yeah, the key thing that I hate talking about Zach, but the key White does well is, and this is a term I'm trying to coin, he hits the holes, not the hills. he takes what's there easy, right? He doesn't go for the mountains. You take what's there, you're going to win games.
Yeah.
You might not get the glory bombs, but you don't get the interceptions. You just get the long drives that destroys defenses, play by play. You wear the other team down. You score a lot. And toward the end of the game, you have the fresher team.
Yeah.
I agree with this. We need to see more of Uzoma because Conklin is dropping way too many passes. Well, though Conklin has been like Rambo when he does catch the ball. I love it. I love it when he catches the ball and just 100% runs in like he's putting on the hit and just runs through the defenders. I love it. But,
I wouldn't want to get in front of him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute monster, but man, he's got to learn how to hold on to the ball. It's just crazy.
Hey, what's interesting about Sunday is I think what I heard Salah say is that Mims is in.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mims and White were in the same game, he would hit Mims. Mims had some playing time. He wasn't perfect, but Mims is capable of some stuff, I think, still. So we'll see. But we could see some Mims action for real on Sunday.
Well, I think we're going to have to because there's no Jeff Smith, and Braxton Berrios played 0 plays on offense last week.
Yeah.
Is he in the doghouse, or is they just noticing that, like, is Berrios lost his confidence also, and they're just?
I don't know, man. I got no answer for that.
I mean, you got Moore is going to have a big game, I think.
Elijah, he could definitely in any moment. I mean, he's open. We know he's open.
Yeah, I think they're studying that. I expect to see some magic.
I'm gonna bank on, if I got to say anyone, I think it's gonna be a strong Bam Knight game. Strong Bam Knight game. You can beat the Seattle Seahawks on the ground.
Well, he can go both ways too. I mean, he can take the short passes and do something magical with them as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's an exciting player, and he's been invisible because, we haven't been able to effectively pass the ball. They've been stacking the box. We can't get anywhere with the run. But again, I think this is good. I don't expect that this week. I expect to be a team that could run the ball. I expect Bam to be doing his thing, and I expect us to see Elijah and Garrett Wilson and even Mims some exciting plays. I honestly feel like it's going to be a 30-point game for us.
We're going to run the ball if we can pass the ball, and I think we'll be able to pass the ball.
Yeah, I hope I hope Mike White is healthy enough to be the player that he's shown in very small, snippets that he can be.
Yeah, Tom, I don't think you were on the call when I said this. You might have been, but he's really playing for at least $5 million a year for 10 years more than he was going to make, minimum.
Yeah.
And he's playing for more money than any of us will ever know, and more money than he's ever known. So, I mean, that guy is not even going to say when he's hurting if he doesn't have to.
well, no one can question his toughness. That's for sure. If nothing more, you might be able to question his quarterback skill at time for time, but that guy's as tough as they come.
There's no way in my mind that Mike White doesn't know and has not thought at least a couple of times, if not constantly, if I lead this team to 2 wins, if I just take care of business and play to my best potential, and I get this team through these 2 games into the playoffs and play well in the playoffs, I have reset my life. Like, I went from a guy from $2 million contract trying to hold on a job. Right. He's like, right. I mean, like, literally, because what's the contract become if he wins these 2 games playing really well, not just in spite of him, but playing really well, and then plays well in the playoffs? What did he just do to his contract? What did he just? I think just
getting into the playoffs is life changing for that man.
It's going to be a real contract if he does that.
Yeah,
with somebody.
Listen, if he does exactly what you said, Jeremy, I think at worst case scenario is that he's brought back with another, minimally paid veteran to compete. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is, you you can get he can earn himself $10 million a year to come in and say, okay, it's your job, son.
I know you guys don't agree with me. We've talked about it before, at least Jeremy. I don't see how, if he has 2 good games here, like 2 games that shows he's real, beats Seattle, beats Miami, gets the Jets in the playoffs for the first time in a million years, that from some team he doesn't get to 10.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I would say that, you know, I'd say the thing that works against Mike White is that it's still a small sample size, and he still hasn't shown that he in that small sample size, he's now been hurt on 4 different occasions, right? He's been hurt on 4 different occasions.
But they're real plays.
Freak accident. Yeah, accidents or real plays, no matter what. The best ability that one can have is availability.
So if another team offers him 10, should we let him go?
I mean, it depends what our option is. You know, put it this way. All right, let's play this game. Mike White, $10 million for 2 years, or Derek Carr, $33 million for 3.
I don't want Derek Carr.
Okay, so
Derek Carr is more of a proven entity. The guy has 4,000 plus yard seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike White, 2 years, $10 million a year, or a combination of Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew at a combined $15 million a year for 2 years.
I really think it depends on. We have to see the next 2 games. We have to look at what.
This was all if he plays well in those games, and we beat those 2 teams.
Correct.
That's what this is based on.
I mean, look, if he beats Seattle,
it's hypothetical.
If he wins on the road against Seattle and then in Miami, a division rival, and throws for 250 to 300 yards, that's what we're talking about. You know, 2 touchdowns, maybe a pick, but like over 60% completion. Like if he does that in these 2 games and rides us into the playoffs and continues to play well in the playoffs, I don't know how we're not really considering him. I don't like, what does the guy have to do to erase the bias of the fact that he was a 5th round pick, you know, by Dallas?
I don't think the 5th round pick comes. I don't think the 5th round pick comes into play anymore. But I think the overall picture of the product that he's laid out in that very small sample size does. He can have 2 great games. And listen, I want nothing more than Mike White to succeed and to lead us to the promised land in the playoffs. And I hope that he does enough to quell all the naysayers and say, okay, be comfortable. This is our guy. I don't know if that's the case yet. I'm not ready to make that commitment personally. Right. I mean, but you know, I hope that happens. But
you're talking about Carr at 30 million, right?
A minimum, yeah.
I'm agreeing. That's why,
which is fair market value. That's average
but
market
to me,
value.
There's a real ceiling there. I guess you pay that money, you are losing a lot of your other talent. And I would rather see us develop Zach. Well, this is assuming White has good games. I would rather take that shot at White, develop Zach, and go into the draft and pick up a 5th round quarterback that we think has some skills and develop that person as well.
Yeah, but there's a much higher probability that with that scenario that you just said right there, Lee, right? I mean, the proof is in the pudding. There's a much higher probability that we might be in the same exact situation as we are now, where we're playing backups and 3rd stringers and Strevlers and the corpses of Joe Flacco's. You know what I mean? Listen, if you took all the injuries away from Mike White, you know, you might be able to sell the masses on it more. But the fact of the matter is, in the 6 games that he started, or 7 games that he started, he's missed time in 4 or 5 of them for injuries, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I hope he proves. I hope he proves to be the guy. I support whoever is behind center, and I mean that wholeheartedly.
Me too.
But at this stage of the game, you know, it would take. I think it's going to take a lot more than the playoffs, getting us to the playoffs to secure and cement Mike White's fate as the Jets quarterback in 2023 for sure.
So
not saying that he won't have a chance. Maybe getting into the playoffs and showing well and staying healthy these next 3-4 games, whatever we have left, 2 regular season games and whatever we have in the playoffs, he might secure himself a shot at that title next year. But
yeah, I mean, maybe pay him a little bit less, but give him some big money bonuses, $1 million per game started.
Yeah. Listen, that there's ways around it and stuff like that. But, on Wednesday we did we were looking at some of the market values for the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And they're projecting guys like Jimmy G to make $37.5 million next year.
That's ridiculous.
Kirk,
That's ridiculous.
not Cousins, Daniel Jones, $26 million. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. So Derek Carr at 30 or 33 is right on par with that. That's your average quarterback. That's a good quarterback.
I know, but to me, I guess it's hard for me to say that Mike White's not 10. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's 30.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's hard to say that some team isn't going to give that boy a shot at 10 when they don't have a 30.
Look at it this way, though. Yeah, and you're right. I hear what you're saying, and it makes complete sense. Now, take your Jets fandom away from it. Is Mike White comparable to Teddy Bridgewater right now this year? You'd probably say they're in the same ballpark. You might say Mike White might be better, or you might say Teddy Bridgewater and his experience might be better, whatever. But
I understand. It's the same
suffice
band.
to say they're in the same kind of
same band.
Yeah. He makes $6.5 million this year. That's backup money. That's good backup money. So what you're saying at $10 million, you're saying that Mike White is guaranteed low starter money. Now, I'm not saying he's not worth $10 million. I'm not saying he's not worth $10 million. But analytics show that $10 million is if you're getting $10 million a year in this league, you're the starter.
Yeah, so maybe a 6 bonus per game. So you're at good high backup price, 5 plus $1 million per game, 5 plus $0.5 million per game. So that if you win the starting position, you're signing now. But if you win the starting position and you start, you don't get hurt, you're making some big smacks.
Yeah. Oh, listen, they can lay out the contract, I'm sure, like that to make it work. Again, this offseason is gonna be a very interesting one because as of right now, this year we only have $3 million left against the cap.
Yeah.
And we go into next year with $15 million in cap space. So you roll over the 3, that's $18 million we're starting with. Now, there's plenty of guys that are coming off that's gonna free up some cash. Probably a lot of moves that we're gonna make that can free up a lot of cash. But we're not going to have 100 million, 80, 90, 100 million like we've had the past couple of years.
No.
So it's a different world. It's a different
world.
world.
We're going to dump 2/3 of it or half of it on a quarterback with the holes that we will then create for ourselves.
Listen, that's why Joe Douglas is who he is, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks, right? Because you can say no, we can't do it. We have too many holes to fill. I need to make sure that I have a 4th linebacker and a 3rd safety and my line intact and this, that, and the other thing. But then again, you're going to hope that Zach Wilson figures it out, or the corpse, or someone like the corpse of Joe Flacco, can play, or that you find, your diamond in the rough in Mike White, who wasn't even dressing early in this year to step up and be the quarterback, So what's more important? And in my opinion, and this is my opinion only, there's no more important position on the football field than the quarterback. If you don't get that right, it's going to be very, very tough. I think Baltimore with Trent Dilfer, got lucky that one year when they won it all. There's been very, very few subpar quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls.
Well, we've seen the pain. You don't have to sell anybody on that. I think that, everybody's 100% with you. I think one saving grace is that we're not making the decision.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of coaches huddling, right, getting together and saying, we know what theoretically, we know what a great quarterback looks like. We know what skills they have. We know what the ceiling really is. We know where Mike White really is. We know how high he can or can't go. We know what we're looking for. We know what it's going to take to win 12 games in a season, and he can or can't get us there. And they're going to make the same decision on Zach, right?
Well, yeah. I don't think the decision's coming next year for Zach. Zach's going to be on the roster next year. I'll die on that hill. It just costs. It's not cost effective for him not to be on the roster next year.
No. I'm not saying he's not going to be on the roster. I'm saying they know whether they think. Well, I don't know. I agree with you. The thing he can't get there.
They just the problem is they just can't cut him because of the cap. I mean, the cap hit is too big.
Yeah, it'll cost. Like I said, it costs more for him not to be on the Jets than to him be on the Jets.
They'll keep him around as an inactive developmental project for $9 million, $10 million, as opposed to we're going to cut him completely and take
$21 million cap hit if Zach is not on the roster next year. It's $9 million. You take away the $9 million that it pays for him, that you're paying for him, and your net negative $11 million.
No, I didn't realize that. And so Zach will definitely be unless some team takes him or something, right?
Even if in a traded scenario, even if you trade him, you still have to swallow that big cap hit next year.
Okay.
That's why for me it's easy to die on that hill that Zach's going to be on the roster next year.
That's
and you're
right,
going to hear You're going to hear a lot.
Floor can say
that's
Zach
right.
is going to be a Jet,
right?
Absolutely.
Because they know they don't have the flexibility to cover.
Yeah,
if it was last year, if we were if our off-season cap position looked like last year, dollars to donuts, you could say, "See, Zach, who's got a 5th rounder? Come give it. We'll take it."
Right.
But that's not the situation.
If it wasn't a financial thing.
Last year, you could take an $11 million hit and keep on moving.
Yeah. I'm with you. You convinced
me.
And
it's the same exact situation for all those who are saying get rid of Lakin, Tomlinson.
Right, we can't.
You've convinced me, but my point was more about the coaches know more than we do about whether Zach has a real future in the NFL as a player. Like they know whether.
I think they're tipping their hand on what they've done already. In kind of giving Zach the reset earlier in the year and then pulling him last game, and now he's not playing this game. So I think they're tipping their hand on that. You're going to hear tons of coach speak that Zach got a future. He's going to play meaningful football here, this, that, and other thing. Blah 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 blah. That's what they should do or say.
So I got some super chats I have to acknowledge. Tony Alexio, thanks for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it. And you didn't mention Streveler, which is amazing. It's probably the first time I've ever seen that.
Streveler on short yardage.
A lot of us want to know where Jeremy Ruckert is. I don't know how much leeway. I think because of where we are in the year and the playoff situation, I can't see them making the move now. But it's going to be interesting if Conklin. Next year, where is Jeremy Ruckert? How does he look? Yeah. They can't cut Conklin. It's the same situation. It's a bad cap hit. If you cut him, it doesn't make sense. But they certainly could start giving Ruckert playing time. If Conklin starts next season and he's still dropping passes, they could say, okay, we're going to start sitting him because this is his final year of his contract that we're until we can get rid of him for free.
The Conklin draft pick was made specifically for 2024. First off, the tight end position is one of the hardest to transition to from the college game to the pros.
Right. He's developing. He's developing.
On top of it, he's only played tight end for 4 years. He was a wide receiver. Jeremy Ruckert was always a wide receiver. He was brought into college as a wide receiver, and then he started to fill into his body, to his 6'5" frame, and they just decided to pack weight on him and teach him how to play the position. So he's still learning the position. Coming in from Ohio State, he was never the focal point. His bread and butter was made on the line of scrimmage. Ruckert was drafted for 2024 when Uzama is going to be off the team, and possibly Conklin, but for sure he's that inline, replacement, your inline tight end replacement for Uzama.
Right. Okay, I gotcha. And he, I mean, I know everybody's excited to see Jeremy Rucker get onto the field, and I'm sure we're going to see him next year. But
See Rucker right here.
Yeah, I mean, but tight ends have to develop. I agree 100%. And Chris K5, thank you so much for the super chat. Super appreciative. Very nice of you. Seems like cut or traded, Carr will have full control of where he plays next year. Any other landing spots you think would be more attractive than the Jets for a quarterback this offseason? Okay, I don't know. First, there's two parts to this. Okay, obviously, would he want to even play for us? But do you agree that he has full control or a lot of control of where he plays? Because to me, he's still under contract to the Raiders. So I don't know if there's.
I think what he's trying to say, he's got a no trade clause.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's a full no trade clause or if it's limited, where like when he signed the contract, he gave 10 teams that they can't just trade him to. There's those partials sometimes in there. I don't know what the status, but he definitely does have a no trade clause.
Okay. So let's say he is empowered. Let's say he's going to have a big say in where he plays, and he's going to be able to manipulate it. And let's say whatever happens with White, let's say it ends up that we're interested. So now assuming he has control of where he plays, and assuming that for whatever reason Joe Douglas is saying that's the guy, how good of a destination are we, in your opinion? I'll let you both take your have your take.
I think that the Jets are starting to show or will start to show that they are a destination that players want to come play for. I mean, look at the team that has been put together, right? There's pieces in place, young, talented pieces in place. On top of it, to answer Chris's question, in my opinion, the other spots that I think the big name quarterbacks, I think the Jets are obviously one. I think Washington is one because they're just like us. They have a very good young nucleus, and they're being built the right way. There are a few more pieces away than we are, I believe, but it's still a good destination. They're a team with with a good financial base. They're not jammed up against the cap, so they got a lot of wiggle room. And I think for Derek Carr, especially, considering that it's known that he seems to prefer warm weather. I think New Orleans is going to make a play for him as well, because he's in a dome in a warm weather. Even the teams that he plays, he'll play 8 of his games in a dome in New Orleans. He'll play 2 games in a dome in Atlanta. He'll play 2 games in Tampa Bay, where it's not really ever cold. Right. And then Carolina is more likely warm than cold as well. So if that warm weather factor comes into play, New Orleans is going to be on the Derek Carr
Super
boat
Bowl
as well.
is usually in a warm city.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
So Lee, why do you think he would want to come to the Jets? What do you think? Imagine we want him. How would you sell him?
Well, I think a lot depends on what happens these last 2 games. So if our offensive line can't protect White again, I'm a quarterback. I'm thinking, do I want to go to a team that can't protect their quarterback? Or do I want to go to a team that I think I can get some time in the pocket and really throw the ball? And so I think that Joe Douglas, Saleh, they probably would try to convince him in that situation that they're building the line, obviously, and they're getting people back and they're going to build a strong line. But I think proof isn't what you see. And I think it would make a big statement if they can actually play well these last 2 games, and then they'll be more desirable for quarterback. They make the playoffs. I think a quarterback wants to come and take them further than if they look like they can't protect what they have.
I think the message is out there amongst the NFL brass and people that have a keen eye to really what's happening here is that the Jets are a quarterback away from really being a force to be reckoned with, right? There's a lot of teams that in the past that have been a quarterback away, but the Jets have really built something very, very good and sustainable. And I think that's going to be attractive to any quarterback. So I think it plays well. That plays well in the whole Derek Carr scenario. Again,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
still under contract for the Raiders, so we might be, putting the cart before the horse here, but
well, sure. We're just making an assumption. Like if he was gonna leave Vegas, had his choice of where to go, what would be appealing about us? I think the answer is Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, and Brees Hall. I think it's guys like that. I think when he sees, knowing Brees Hall will be back, I think that the rest of the league's not stupid. They were seeing what was developing with him, franchise altering type running back. And then he sees a guy like Garrett Wilson in the shit show that we've been as an offense, honestly, about to, in spite of that, break 1,000 yards and have, he could still end up at 1,200 yards with Mike White throwing him the ball, which is just miraculous. I mean, a rookie to come in on a team that has Elijah, that has Corey Davis, that has these players, that has had such difficulty throwing for any yardage. And now he's going to go over 1,000. I mean, I think there's superstar written all over that kid. And that's always appealing to a quarterback. Like, who's my number one going to be? Who's going to be my weapon that I can count on? And the Jets, finally have an answer to that question. Here's a young stud for you to throw the ball to. And by the way, here's a 5'9" little speedster that breaks ankles. We just need a quarterback who can, find him and utilize him as well in Elijah Moore.
All right. Hey, I got to go, bro.
Okay. Lee is on his way out. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Hey,
Lee, always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, nice talking to you, and
go Jets.
Well, thanks for the super chat, Chris K. I hope that we answered your question and gave it the attention that you wanted. Again, I appreciate super chats like that. It's really, really helpful. So thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. And Thomas Cahill just comes in and says for a super chat, thank you, I appreciate it, Thomas. And says Zach will request a trade. What do you think? You think Zach's going to request a trade?
Zach can request whatever he wants. I mean, he wouldn't be the first Jet to request a trade. Christ, we dealt with it twice this year, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get granted. If you said that, and for a bevy of reasons, one meaning the financial implications that it would play on us this coming year, I think is of paramount importance. But two, if anything, they want to build up Zach Wilson's reputation if they're going to move him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to sell off something at its lowest point. You want it to have some sort of value so you can get something decent in return, and I don't know what that would be necessarily for Zach Wilson, but
yeah, I think if you request, it's not about whether he requests a trade. I think that maybe you could explain this to me. So let's say there was a trading partner. For some reason, somebody still loved him. They loved him out of college. Mm-hmm. They believe that they can develop him. What gets us out of the dead cap thing? Like what are the possibilities in a trade? Can we get out of the salary piece of it, like in the dead cap space part of it?
No. So the dead cap space comes from having to cover what you've already paid out in bonus. The salary is the salary. The team would absorb the salary, but it's not that's not what would cause the dead cap space. It would be what we've already paid him out in the bonus, the signing bonus.
Right. So that's it's not an out for us. The other question I had is if we cut him this year, let's say, and took that $20 million dead cap hit, right, instead of paying him $9 million. Not that I think that's going to happen. Are we off the hook, or next year are we on the hook for the $15 million?
Nope. You can choose to take it as a lump, take it on the chin 1 year. So if we were to cut Zach Wilson this offseason for 2023, Zach Wilson would carry a dead cap hit just south of $21 million.
And then we're done. It's gone afterwards.
And then it's done and it's gone. Now, if you designate him a post-June cap hit, if you designate him a post June cap hit, that goes down to 15 million for this year, and the rest of it is broken in. That 15 million is broken into yearly increments, if you will. So it gives you more freedom or more flexibility the current year, but it drags on kind of like an annuity for a couple years. That's the difference between getting rid of him now and designated him a post June 1st.
So when I click on 2024 and I see that 15 million dead cap, that's the assumption that we keep him this year. And then if we were to cut him the following year, it would be a $15 million hit.
Correct.
But if we cut him this year and took the $20 million hit, that would be it. It would be over.
You're done. You're done.
Okay.
You're done.
Well, he's I mean, it's more realistic if he's a distraction in 2024, because the 11 million salary versus 15 million, it's only a 4 to 5 million dead cap difference.
In 2024, you mean?
Yeah. So there's a chance that if he absolutely looks like crap next year and it doesn't look like he's developing at all, I'm just saying it's like it's more realistic. I can imagine a world where they say, do we pay him the 10 and save 5 million instead of taking the 15, but we have to use up a roster spot on the 53. I could see him saying, screw that. We'll just take the $15 million cap hit.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, can you see that scenario?
I think I think after 2023, there's a much more higher probability that you can kind of be free of Zach, because in 2024, which will be his fourth year in the league, if I'm not mistaken, right? 20, 21, 22, 20. When was he drafted? 21, right? 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah. So he'll be in his fourth year of his contract. In essence, his last year of his contract. So then if you traded him, all right, you're no, let me think about this. Hang on. Yeah, so his 2024 contract right now, his base salary would be 1.5 million and his bonus is 5.73 million. So you'd have to you would pretty much eat $5 million, but you can gain what the difference between 5.7 or 11 million and 5.7. You would gain that much more cap space if somebody took him on. So I think 2024 would be the earliest that you'll see Zach Wilson off the roster if this whole development track doesn't work out for him.
That's interesting. And let me tell you, I don't know if they, because everyone's freaking out in the chat. We don't know what they want. There might be, for all we know, the coaches and JD, they might be sitting there saying, no. If next year, there's a chance he's going to develop. We still believe there's a chance this kid can develop. That this kid was put in there too soon. He was not ready, and that there's still a chance that we're after working on his mechanics and getting his head right and being a little bit older and being a little bit wiser, there's a chance this kid could be a quarterback. I'm not saying that I believe that, but they might believe that.
Yeah. Listen, they say that, and how much of it is coach speak and how much of it is true belief, I don't know.
Tigo, I just want to say good night to you, buddy. I hope you're feeling better. And anytime you want to talk, let me know, because I know you've been dealing with some health stuff. So take care, my brother. I hope you're better.
Later, bro. Give me a buzz, man. Tigo, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Yeah, so look, it's going to be interesting. I just think that, like, with me, it's always like there comes a time where you slip players in the category of, if something happens, great, but we're going to assume that it's not going to happen. Meaning, it's time to move forward as if Zach is a complete bust and is never going to be a help to this franchise. It's time to move forward without, and that's not me saying cut him. I mean, If we're going to hold on to him because of the contract situation, fine. Work to develop him. Have somebody work with him next year, all next year, whatever it is. Do what you got to do. It was the same thing, like I said, with Mims for this year. I was like, it doesn't cost us anything to keep him.
Yeah.
We have him on the minimum rookie deal. So my whole attitude with Mims in the offseason last year was, if he turns out to be something great, if he doesn't turn out to be anything, oh well. But it doesn't cost us a lot, so we give him a chance. Oh, and lo and behold, Mims has not been horrible. I mean, he's not great. He's not the star we want him to be, but he certainly is nothing like last year. He's actually coming in and he's doing some things for us. And then it's the same way I feel about Becton. You know, the way I feel about Becton is, we should not rely on him. We should not act as though he's going to be our left or our right tackle next year and that we could check that box. But at the same time, it costs nothing to continue to let him, like, obviously, we have him on that rookie deal. Allow him to, he's going to come to camp, work as hard as you can with him. And if Becton comes back in shape and healthy and stays healthy and plays at the level he did as a rookie, then, hey, that's great. But if he doesn't, we were already prepared because we acted and behaved as if he wasn't.
Correct. Yeah.
That's how I feel about Mims, Becton, Zach. I mean, that's the way I feel about guys like this.
Yeah. Now, Becton is going to be entering his 4th year next year. So the Jets this offseason are going to have a very, very interesting decision to make for Mekhi Becton.
The option.
And that's whether they want to pick up the 5th year option. Now, my guess is that it's probably not even up for discussion. I'm going to
hard to imagine.
So I'm going to look at what the option would cost for Mekhi Becton. Because next year he's locked in. His salary is $5 million, which is great for an offensive tackle, especially one who's starting. I mean, that's a bargain. Not to say that he's guaranteed to start, but here are the 5th year option projections. Mekhi Becton. It would cost, the 5th year option for Mekhi Becton would be $12.7 million.
There's no way.
It would be $12.7 million to lock him into the 5th round option. I can't imagine that and that's guaranteed, paid out even if he's injured. So I can't imagine that.
I mean, look, even if he plays, like if he comes back and he's in shape and he's fit and he plays and he's healthy and he plays well, he's probably after 2 years off not going to play well enough to make other teams want to come and pay him $20 million. So the reality is it's not much of a gamble on our part. If he plays really well and he's our starting guy and we don't pick up the option, okay, so we'll end up paying $15 million or something for a multi-year deal. It's like, it's definitely worth not risking. Like, I don't want to pick up the option because if he's hurt again all year and barely plays, then we're a sucker and we've just thrown out $12 million.
Yeah. So I think it's probably not going to happen. But, in the case that, the risk that you play is in the case that Mekhi does come back healthy next year and he does prove to be the guy that we thought he was when we drafted him, and the force that he was, for 3/4 of his rookie year. $12 million would be a bargain for him, because if he plays well, if he plays up to the standard that he can play, he's going to earn himself $20 million. Right. Maybe not 20, but at least multiple year contract at 18 plus per.
He's going to have plenty of motivation to come in. And when I said with Becton, to me, true motivation is not, the acceptable, he comes in at 365. Come in at 345, and then I know you're serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the 5th year option is it's an interesting thing. So there's different tiers to it. Everyone who's drafted in the 1st round is eligible for it. And there's 4 tiers. There's a basic option, which would be what Mekhi Becton would earn. The basic option for Mekhi Becton is $12.7 million. Based on playing time, if he played 75%, if he played 75% or greater in 2 of the first 3 seasons, that 5th-year option automatically there's a kicker into it. So if that was Mekhi Becton, the 5th-year option would be 13.9. If he made a Pro Bowl, the 5th-year option for him would be 15.95. And if he made multiple Pro Bowls, the 5th-year option would be 17.6 million. Just as an argument's sake, Tristan Wirfs, his 5th-year option, he was drafted with Mekhi Becton. The 3 tackles that were drafted 10, 11, 12. Jedrick Willis, Mekhi Becton, Tristan Wirfs. 5th-year option for Jedrick Willis is 13.9. Mekhi Becton 12.7. Tristan Wirfs 17.6.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the base salary calculated. It's the average salary of the 3rd to the 20th highest salaries paid out.
Didn't Thomas for the Giants come out that year too?
He did, and he earned the second tier. So his 5th-year option is going to be worth 13.9. Now, this is the same as Jedrick Willis. Now, those 2 guys, I might lock in the 5th-year option, because that's, Andrew Thomas has shown he's going to earn himself a big contract. Jedrick Willis has shown he's going to earn a big contract. So it gives you 1 more year to kind of, figure it out and negotiate it out,
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, for instance, that same year, came out that same year, his 5th-year option is going to be $28.1 million.
Wow. It sucks. It really sucks that we lost 2 years of Becton. It's really just shitty.
Yeah.
Really shitty, man, because I watched him his rookie year. Obviously he had some work, I think, and some development to do as a pass blocking tackle. Not that he was bad, but there was still obviously growth and work on that in that department. But the run blocking, to me, was just freaking elite.
Can you imagine if he can get at least that part of his game back next year? And you have
for our offense is perfect. That's what we
need. I know, man. I know. And I would put him on the right side. I really would. I'd put him on the right side, right next to AVT.
Oh my God.
And TJ Uzama lined up in line with them, and just let them plow through the right side of that.
Oh my God, with
the
Breece
right side.
Hall and Bam Knight and Michael Carter, 3-headed monster led by Breece Hall. Yep. I mean, I don't think Breece Hall will be ready week 1, right? They're probably going to pump him.
Nah, he's not going to be ready week 1. I listen. I mean, stranger things have happened. But if I was a betting man, I think it's going to be a much safer route, a much more, kind of take it, easy kind of roll. And we'll see him hopefully by mid-year.
I mean, he was literally had to wait a month for the surgery. You think that was for all the inflammation to go down? They couldn't even do the surgery right away.
That's not unnormal. That's not abnormal, I should say. I mean, they probably just wanted to wait for some of the swelling to go down to see the extent of it, to see how clean it was. Be surprised. A clean tear. A clean, smooth tear. Those are the ones that people can come back from pretty easily. It's when it's not a full or complete tear, or if it's there's a medical word, I don't know what it is, but I'll just say like jagged. Think of it like a tear that's not so smooth, or if there's extracurricular activity that also happened in the knee, other tendons or ligaments or cartilage or so on and so forth. So that's probably what the holdup was. They wanted some of that swelling to go down so they could take another MRI scan and really see what they were working with. Best case scenario, it's a nice clean tear, just the ACL, and you move on.
Yeah. Hopefully it was. They haven't said much about it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you hear about the surgery and they say it was great. It was this. I haven't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people have heard it, but I watch all the press conferences, and I haven't noticed any mention of it. Even though I know he had the surgery, I saw pictures of him, in the hospital with the bandaging on his leg, and
he was back at he's back at One Jets Drive. Now I don't know if he's he's probably not working out, but I'm sure he's doing his rehab and his therapy there.
Have you heard anything?
No, I haven't really heard much about Breece Hall since the injury happened, but I think it's a very positive thing that you see him at One Jets Drive. You know, he's there. He's there at the practices. He's walking. He's not walking with a brace or a limp on or anything like that. I mean, it's very typical. ACL injuries, albeit serious, they're not what they were, 15, 20 years ago.
So you don't think it necessarily has to take away from his career? You don't think there's like a percentage that it's going to take away? You think he could be everything he was going to be?
No, ACLs these days in modern medicine and how fit these athletes are. If it's just a clean ACL tear, he can get back to the level where he was very, very easily.
I hope
very, very easily.
I hope so, because I have a feeling he was going to be very special.
Now it also, would I expect him to be peak Breece Hall in 2023? No, I don't. But in 2024, there's no reason, barring further or more injury, there's no reason to think whatsoever that he wouldn't be playing at the level he does. I mean, the athletes these days are just like ridiculous. I tore my ACL. I tore my ACL and my MCL when I was 17. And back then it was a whole different thing. I got a scar probably about 8 inches down my leg. I got cadaver tendon grafted in to make mine. Now it's, they put in the 3 little scope holes and, they tie it up and, spit some fucking plutonium in there or something like that and make you all better.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, look, I'm fine with him coming back and being just good. If he comes back in the middle of next season, gives us a boost. Because, and now we have the 3-headed monster, and maybe they put him on snap counts, especially if Becton did make the team with AVT and we did have a great run blocking and the run game was fine. Put him on a pitch count, and just get him back into that groove where he comes back year 3. Just just an absolute beast.
Listen, you can't expect him to be at peak level any point in 2023. I think that's a foregone conclusion, and it wouldn't be just like reality to expect that you see Breece Hall, the same Breece Hall we saw, scampering at 4.25 speed in Denver for that long touchdown. You don't expect to see that next year. But there's tons of running backs that come back from ACLs. Let's see who's the most recent one. I mean, I know Cam Akers had one. Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley had one, and the year after he came, it was the second year. This is his second year back from it,
right?
And now he's playing like he was pre-ACL,
right? He's playing like a superstar.
Yeah, just like in baseball, like the Tommy John surgery, big surgery. It's a longer rehab, it usually takes a year to come back, but even when a pitcher comes back, they're not the same until the following year. It's that year after the surgery when, if everything goes well, the person kind of returns back to the player they were. If it was an Achilles or something like that, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. Or if there was, like the poor kid, what's the running back there in Denver who tore up his knee? Javonte Williams. Yeah. He tore up his knee bad. He did ACL, he did the patella tendon and the LCL, which is the outside ligament, same with J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins had a multiple ligament injury. So, he's taking a little bit longer. He's just getting back now after being out for 18 months.
Wow.
And he's not the same. So, something like that, multi-ligament or like a more severe injury could take 24 months before you see him back to where they are.
Twisted's asking, hey, just so you guys know, Nick didn't have the surgery yet. So Nick Shine did not have the surgery yet.
January 3rd or something like that, right?
January 3rd. Yeah, I think he got the flu or something, so they couldn't do it. So January 3rd. He's actually okay though. I mean, I don't know if he's playing, but he's able to go out. He's taking his son to the Top Golf or whatever that place is. where he hits balls. I don't know if he's able to hit balls, but he's at least taking his son and his son's friend out and hanging out, having a good time, which is good. That he's getting out. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Tony. Another super chat for my good friend Tony Alexio. You're awesome, man. I love you. No Streveler time, no playoffs.
Hey, Tony, are you related to Chris Streveler? Or
he just loves
He
Streveler.
loves
He
Streveler,
loves
man.
Jeremy Ruckert too. He wants to see Jeremy Ruckert, but he loves Streveler. He just loves him. Yeah. When he first came, we were hard on him. We were like, "Shut up with your nonsense." It's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But then we fell in love with Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
week
man.
8 sounds right. That means you put him on the pup list for the first 6 games. Look, that'd be
Yeah,
great. If we see him week 8 next year, and he's again, pitch count. Don't expect too much, just get his groove, getting him healthy.
Yeah, he won't be at full bore, like be able to put it into 5th gear, and really trust the knee, because that's what it is. The ACL is it keeps, if your leg is like this, picture your leg like this. The ACL is what keeps the tibia or the fibia and the tibia from doing this or doing this. That's what the ACL does. It keeps it from doing that. So, it still takes, to plant and stuff like that. It's still, your body just is hesitant at first. You can't get right back into it.
This is actually really funny because
What's
how Green Bean says when Strev throws the ball, he looks like he's throwing meatballs. This is really funny. He feels like somebody injected his arm with local anesthesia. Strev does run hard though. I'll look. He's an absolute monster. I'm always impressed when you get a guy that's willing to take a ball, literally take the ball and run full speed into the wall. That is an NFL defense. It's impressive, and he plays violently. He runs violently into that defense, but that's a really good reason to understand that he's not going to last long in the league if you play him. Like, he was already getting very limpy and gimpy on the sideline after that drive. Do you remember that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he was banged up. So it's like that shows you like how much of that game, if he would have came in and played that whole game the way he played that fourth quarter, I mean, do you think he would have lasted the whole game even?
I don't know, man. I've tried to kind of wash that Jacksonville game completely out of my psyche and my mind.
Yeah,
I don't like to think about it too much.
It's like the truth is, I hated how I felt that game. The only time I felt that way twice this season. 3 times. Okay, the opening game, Baltimore. I mean, I walked out of the seats. I went into the lounge, that we were at, and I sat on this chair, and I was so depressed, and so was Watsuke. We sat there looking at each other, going, "This is just miserable," because it felt like last year.
Yeah,
and then the New England game when we couldn't score, that the punt return, I didn't even get upset. Like, if you watch Green Bean's thing, you don't even see me get that phased because I was already so down.
Yeah,
I was already so
See,
down.
I wasn't necessarily down after the New England game. The punt return was like a kind of like a gut punch. When I got it in Baltimore also. I think it was just like that feeling of, God, it's the same old thing again. But I got it more in Cincinnati. The Cincinnati game where it felt like we just couldn't get anything going. That's exactly what I felt in Jacksonville. Like, even though the defense didn't play bad in Jacksonville, in the grand scheme of things, it was still bending and not breaking until it broke. It just felt like offensive, defensive, special teams was just, I felt like we were just getting demolished. That's what Jacksonville felt. I think Jacksonville was the worst game that we've played.
It was agonizing. Sitting,
Yeah.
I was at a ranch house in Jackson. You know, I'm in this rented house. I have this giant screen TV. I'm sitting there at this, you know, I'm in a whole new situation. And all I'm thinking the whole game is I'm live with Green Bean, right? So I can't put my head in the toilet. Like, I can't go to Crazy Town, like, which is what I usually want to do. Like when I get that down, I want to go to Crazy Town. I want to sit there and talk about how shit the organization is, how we're never going to win anything, and I can't because Green Bean will not permit it. So he doesn't want to be around that, and I don't blame him. So I have to hold up this strong front, watching this game, and it was like by the third quarter, by 10 minutes in the middle of the third quarter, it was already going. I was already thinking, will this just end? I can't believe I have to sit here for another quarter and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please just let this end. And the only good and positive that came, not that I ever believed we were going to win the game, but when Strev came in, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you know what? When Strev came in, it was fun. But you know what it did for me personally? It pissed me off so much more. Because I was like, God damn it. Streveler can come in and we get first downs. How the hell can our number 2 overall pick? How can our offense just completely stall when he's in? You know?
How can he be that bad?
Oh, man.
Like, I just don't understand how he could be that bad. Like, psychologically, he just crumbled.
Yeah. Now, it was a Thursday night. So I had no intention of going to the game on the Thursday night, knowing I had to work Friday, the kids and all that. You know, it was one of those games where I had intentions of giving my tickets away the whole year. I didn't plan on going, and it was really shitty weather up here, so I'm glad that I didn't. But I remember just sitting there and I'm watching it because normally, I'm at the games and I'm, sometimes I bring my kids and sometimes I don't, and I'm watching it with my oldest son, and he's looking at me. And he could see the deject just on my face, that look of disgust. And he's like, Dad, you're gonna curse, aren't you? And I'm like, nah. I'm like, Marcus, I think I'm beyond cursing at this point. I mean, there's nothing to curse at. It's that bad.
It was just depressing. It was depressing.
Yeah,
it was really just gut punches, So Chode Uglis, who's Knobcraft, you should contact Green Bean. You won a Manscaped razor, the main razor from Manscaped. I don't know if you know that you won, but you won.
Yeah, he's not lying. I heard it.
Yeah, and he's I don't think he knows who you are. Like, he was like, Joe Douglas, and I was like, that's Knobcraft. So you should definitely reach out to Green Bean on Twitter at Green Bean Jets fan and tell him, say, hey, it's me, Knob. I'm also Choda Uglis, and I won.
Yeah,
So
you did.
Yeah, you definitely won. We're not shitting you, man.
No,
We're
you're
not lying to you.
Scout's honor, man. You were the winner of the Manscaped.
This is what
contest.
You won, dude. You won the main razor. The main razor.
And you don't have to use Jeremy's. I promise you.
You don't have to use mine. It has a little flashlight. You don't have to use it for downstairs. You could use it for your head, for whatever you want. But the reality is, you could use it down there because it won't cut you up. It's like that's the real thing. The whole idea is that it's a way of taking care of business down there without all the cuts, the pain, and the agony. So, yes, we're not joking. You won. You just have to contact Green Bean. He called out your name on Thursday night. I also sent you a message in our fantasy league too. I was trying to get that information to you. So yeah, get in touch with them. It's actually a really good product. So it's a cool price. Really is.
Yeah, you'll have to show us the end result when you're done, Knobcraft, though.
And Knob, I was also talking about the fact that if you're in North Carolina, in Raleigh-Durham, that's where my parents live. So the next time I go down there and visit, I expect us to hang out, especially if you're working in a restaurant, because then I can come and, I want to sit at the chef's table. I want to sit at the chef's table.
Yeah. So I see something. I see a couple guys talking about James Robinson in the chat. And I want to say this about James Robinson. He was. People got to remember also. I know that we all had much higher expectations for James Robinson than what he's shown. I mean, Christ, he hasn't even suited up the past couple weeks. But I think there's a couple levels to that, James Robinson can still play. James Robinson is not. Let's get this right off the bat. Breece Hall, he was never going to be a Breece Hall replacement. There's not many guys that can replace Breece Hall. They are two completely different running backs. James Robinson and Breece Hall, if they were automobiles, James Robinson can only get into third gear sometimes. He's like old reliable. You get it started. Once you get it started, it's going to go, and it's going to go at a good pace for a little while. Breece Hall is the sports car who, can go from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat. That's the true difference between 4.25 speed and 4.65 speed, because that's what James Robinson is. James Robinson, though, is what he does do, or what he was known for in what he showed on tape and the style of runner that he is one that gets vertical very easily. He's physical. He plants his foot one cut and can get vertical. He doesn't like jibber jabber in the back or do any of these hop steps, so on and so forth. He was known to just cut and go. And we saw a lot of that in the first couple games, especially the Buffalo game, where I thought he had a great game. The whole offense, first Buffalo game, the whole offense, especially the running game, had a great game. And you saw a lot of that in James Robinson. All right. And then the next couple games, you didn't. You saw James Robinson start to get hesitant. Now he's also coming off of an Achilles injury,
Right.
So I don't think he was ever this year at 100%, so they were, shooting, they were hoping to shoot fish in a barrel by finding somebody that could kind of fill some of the gaps that were left by Breece Hall, but in no way, shape, or form did I think anyone in the Jets brass think that James Robinson was going to be a Breece Hall replacement, And then once he started to not really be productive, coupled with the fact that Bam Knight was doing everything that they thought James Robinson was, they said to themselves, well, at this point, fuck, let's make sure that it stays a 6th-round draft pick, because he had that yardage kicker. That if
there's no point in giving him garbage yards that we have other backs that can get,
that's right.
If he doesn't give us an advantage in getting those yards than anyone else getting those yards, why should we compromise the pick?
Yeah. Solomon Jets 718. Great question.
Yep.
Great question. Does Quan earn a multi-year contract? Listen, he's had ups and downs, and I think that he's had more ups than downs per se. I personally think that overall he's been the much better outside, or off-ball linebacker that we've had, more so than Quincy Williams. So if I have to choose between the two, with all things being equal, I'd probably lean more towards giving a contract to Quan Alexander. Now, multi-year, that comes with a big caveat. How long is multi? Is multi-year 2 years? Is multi-year 5 years? Because he's going to be 30 years old next year. So he's probably on the shorter end of the stick. But I would be comfortable in giving him another contract and bringing him back. I don't think that we'll see both of them back. And as a matter of fact, I think that linebacker is going to be one of the areas that is going to be of high focus with our draft capital in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, and when you say multi-year deal, how much do you think? I mean, I don't think I don't see double digits or anything crazy like that. What are we talking about? 6-7 million a year, maybe a 2-year guarantee or something?
Yeah, probably around that. I mean, I think he got 2 and change this year. He took a very, very team-friendly deal this year to come out and play.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a prove-it deal. Like, he wants money now.
Yeah. So and maybe they had a handshake agreement that said, hey, if you're gonna, you show us on the field and you're gonna be on the field for X amount of percentage of plays and you play at a high level, we're gonna make it right next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's brought back. I'll say that much. I don't know if it's another multi-year deal. Maybe that's something that he's going to be looking for because it's probably his last contract, or close to it. So, so it's a good question. It's a fair question. I'd say between the two off-ball linebackers that are both free agents next year, him and Quincy, I would bring back Quan over Quincy, and I'd look to replace Quincy. Quincy Williams is I love his energy, and when he lays the wood into somebody, he really hits them. But for all that good, there's a lot of ugly linebacker play from Quincy Williams.
There's an interesting comment from Jets 830, and I say it's interesting because is Carl Lawson that different than he was in Cincinnati? I mean, he is getting lots of pressures. He is getting lots of wins against his guys. He's never been a guy to get home and finish and get the sack. I mean, so isn't this just the Carl Lawson we signed and we're watching it?
I think yes and no. Yeah, yes, I agree with everything that you said. He's been historically known to get pressure on the quarterback from the defensive end position, to play strong against the run, and he's done both of those things adequately. I just think at times Carl Lawson seems to, there's too many times where I think he just disappears, where, but to your point, he's never been a big sack. He's never been a big sack guy. And I think sacks itself are probably overrated. Pressures and QB hits, can count have much more effect in a game than actually being, tallied with the sack itself. You know what I mean? Is it a big deal if he gets 6 pressures and 3 quarterback hits, but no sacks? Or would you rather have him get, 1 pressure, 1 QB hit and a sack and 2 sacks? You know what I mean? No, you take the pressure. I mean, that's the stuff that he's known for. He did have the one double-digit sack season in Cincinnati, which is probably what we thought we were going to get from him. But again, he's another guy who's he's an injury risk. He's got that injury moniker right around him. He's coming back from his second major injury in 6 years in the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any chance we're paying him $15 million to stay. I think that he's either not going to, either he's only got a few games left as a Jet, or you're going to see him restructured.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to take a pay cut. Sorry, we can't pay you.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
So we're going to turn down the option. We're probably going to talk to him first and say we're turning down the option, but just like we do with Crowder, we'd love to have you stay. Here's what we're willing to pay.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. That as the contract is constituted right now, he won't be on the Jets. He won't be on the Jets at that number at 15.5. He will not be on the Jets for.
And Aiden Tobin, Jacksonville Jaguar fan, is in the chat.
Hey, Aiden.
He's telling us about the turf and complaining because Smoot got hurt and everything. And all I could say to that is we're sorry about that. We hate the turf also. The Giants hate the turf. The Jets fans hate the turf. And everyone who plays us, who loses a player on that turf, hates that turf. I don't know what it's going to take for the Giants and Jets ownership or the NFL even to be forced to deal with it. I know that they're changing it up. I just don't know if it's really going to get any better.
Well, anything is better than what we have now. So I think it'll get better. Is it going to be injury resistant? No.
Right. But it'll be better than the shit we have now. So Tony Alexia with another super chat comes in and says 2 preseason heroes, Streveler and Bam. Go. Oh, so he likes Bam Bam also. Okay. Found another guy that Tony likes. Thanks for the super chat, Tony. I'm like, I appreciate it. Appreciate you chiming every once in a while, popping in another couple of bucks into the funds.
Yeah.
And thanks for your comments and your consistency. Because there's one thing about Tony is he's very consistent.
Yeah. He's dying on that sword, man. That Streveler sword.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's comfortable, bud.
How do you like this comparison?
Lawson looks like Brent. Yeah, I mean that's fair. And listen, Brandon Graham has done it in the NFL for a long time. He's You know, he's earned his keep in the NFL. And if that's what Carl Lawson turns into, a guy who's going to consistently get the pressures, but never, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. The bridesmaids play an important part too. Like I said, there's roles. I've talked about this before. Leo Williams. I thought he was a great football player. I loved Leo Williams on the Jets. And I think that his role and what he did always kind of flew under the radar with the Jets because he was never the guy who was getting sacked. I mean, in his time here, no one was getting sacks for the Jets, but he was never that real presence on the edge that they thought they were drafting 6 overall. But he turned into a real solid 5 technique, big run stuffing, work pale kind of Sean Ellis kind of player. Ellis and Abraham, perfect examples, right? Two of the best Jets in recent years at the position, 2 totally different players. Abraham was a lot more flashy. He got a lot more recognition because of the big plays that he made and the sack totals. But Ellis was just as good. He came to work every day and he did all the little things. Leo Williams did all the little things. If Carl Lawson can continue his Jets career and keep doing the things that he's doing now, that's great. I just don't think you can ever expect, 12 or 15 sack season from Carl Lawson. I just don't know if that's in his repertoire.
Which is why I say 8 million, 8, 9 million, whatever it is, couple of years. We say, okay, you take the pay cut. We'll give you a, 12 million guaranteed, 8 million now, $8 million next year with 4 million cap hit or something, 4 million for the guarantee, whatever it is. And, something like that, something a little bit more team friendly, but also something real and legitimate because obviously somebody will pay him. He's a good player.
Yeah.
But we can't pay him. We can't pay him 15 million. We just can't do it.
Yeah. And I'm going to disagree with Kevin saying that Lawson was a bad signing. I don't think Lawson was a bad signing. He's still under market value for what he was signed for. And B, I mean, you lost a whole season of him to an Achilles injury. I mean, it's shit luck. It's unfortunate that it happened, but I don't necessarily think he was a bad signing. And who knows? Maybe if he didn't injure the Achilles, he would have been everything that we thought we were getting. Maybe he would have been the 10 or 12 digit or 12 sack guy. I just don't think that's his game.
It was a horrendous injury. He was having a great camp before that injury. I mean, he's the best player on the team before that injury. So, I don't know. To answer this question about the offensive line and this, first of all, I do not blame the scheme because I know that the outside zone, it's a proven. I'm not going to sit there and fight that it's the best. It depends on the offense that you're running.
I think he's talking more about, I don't want to speak for Mr. Green Jeans, but I think he's talking more about their pass protection.
Yeah, no, he was asking about the horrendous O-line communication fell on the players, the coach, or the scheme. I was just saying, I don't think it falls on the scheme. I definitely feel that it falls on everything else. Like, in other words, the scheme is the scheme. It's a legitimate scheme. It's the one that we've had. It's in its second year. It's the one that fits the offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the one that we're going to be living and dying with as long as we have this regime of coaching, right? So, I mean, so put the scheme aside. I think it's a little bit of everything. Like I think everyone's got to take accountability. I think the offensive lines coach, what is it, Benton. Yeah. I think everybody, and I think the players themselves, I think the communication, I think all of it. I think it's all every part of it has got to be held accountable.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. I mean, the players are the ones that are playing the game. They're the ones who are there real time. They're the ones who have to make the adjustments on the fly and the calls. So, it does fall on the players. I mean, it's hard to say that the coaches don't have them prepared. I can't imagine any NFL team where the coaches really, really don't have these guys prepared. I mean, so that accountability has to fall on the players. Now, to their defense, some of it has to do with the complete ineptness that the offense has shown at times. You know, like I said, if you have 7 guys standing in front of you where they have double mugs and the linebackers are up, in the gaps right to the left and the right of the center, and they have 4 defensive linemen and they have 1 safety who's creeping up, and you have no idea where these blitzes are coming from. Some of the times it's not. Some of the times it's communication, but they don't know where it's coming from, and that has to do with the fact that our inability to move the ball on offense is a lot, and especially through the air, and the issues that we've had, with Zach at the helm or with Flacco at the helm, or even Mike White at times. But I think Mike White can beat those blitzes a little bit more. Like the fact that they're testing us, they're tempting us to kind of stop them, and we can't stop them. That causes that much more confusion. You have 7 guys on there and you don't know which ones are coming at any given time, because the defense knows that the quarterback's not going to complete the ball, not going to complete a pass, not going to beat you. It's much easier to play defense that way. The defense has the advantage all times, whereas, if you have a quarterback that can beat you consistently and can make the quick reads and the smart throws and the, hit the open man, it's going to make the defense kind of be on their heels or step back, or maybe choose not to bring 6 or 7 guys all the time. So it all plays into it. It all plays into it.
Yeah. So Kevin C's here. He was famous for the pretzel incident where Joe Douglas said he was going to break him into a pretzel.
That was him?
Yeah. That's why he changed his name, Kevin C, to Kevin C Jets Pretzel. And I'm kind of mixed feelings about it. What my response to I believe that Kevin, the story's true. It sounds very legitimate. So my response to it is, so I don't agree with some of the things that first of all, I don't agree with the yelling at Joe Douglas, because Joe Douglas is an incredible GM. I think will go down as the best GM we've ever had. So I love Joe Douglas and would never yell at him. I also think that as much as Zach Wilson is a bust, and I agree with that, I would never compare him to Ryan Leaf, because the one time Zach said, no, I didn't let my team down, does not put him at the level of Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf was a big crybaby, doubled down on never apologizing, never, you know what I mean? Like I would never compare Zach Wilson to Ryan Leaf. All that set aside, believing that he targeted the wrong person in Joe Douglas, that it was a bad analogy to compare him to Leaf, all that set aside, just like Chris Rock said about OJ, I understand. Meaning Kevin sat in the rain, cold, rainy day. Can you imagine sitting through that Jacksonville game? I was inside with the fireplace in a nice, warm, comfortable house with Green Bean and everybody, right? And I felt so disgusted and upset. I can't imagine how the fans felt sitting out there in the cold. It's wet. It's nasty. So I could only say, as much as I don't agree with some of the way he went about it, I understand. And I'll just do like Chris Rock. I understand. I'm not saying I would have done it, but I understand. Just like that.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy who did it. So, you got to give him some cred that he went and he did something about it, right? Rather than just go home feeling like crap with the other, thousands of other people. Kevin went and said, I'm going to let out my frustration and let people know that I'm not happy, that this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Which it isn't.
I see a lot of draft and prospect talk here in the chat.
Yeah, they're talking about Brian Brees. I was watching him play for Clemson a little bit before. Let me see.
Yeah, I think Brian Brees is a great player. He does a lot. The problem I have with Brian Brees is that he is too much, and it's going to sound crazy to say this, but he's too similar to what the same skill set that Quinton Williams has. So having them both inside, albeit might be very effective in passing situations, he doesn't offer the same stability that you would hope that other defensive tackle run stuffing type would have. On top of it, I don't think that there's any way that Brian Brisset reaches us, where we pick in the first round. I'm guessing that, just say that we're somewhere between 15 and 20. That's for argument's sake. I think Brian Brisset is a top 10, top 12 pick. I don't think he gets past Houston at 12. Maisie Smith, definite opposite. Maisie Smith's a great run stuffer. And I like the big kid. I like the big Samoan kid out of Baylor, Ika, too. I mean, he's 6'5", 365 pounds, and can get at the passer nonetheless. Those are some of the guys. I like the bigger guys for our team as constituted right now. I'd lean towards, your next future Sheldon Rankins or Nathan Shepard, and that would be the Maisie Smiths of the world, the Siaki Ikas of the world.
I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully it will be after Super Bowl, but I'm looking forward to the shows that we're going to do where we're going to get to look at players and talk a lot about players. And there's definitely a lot of guys out there every year. There's going to be guys. There's guys to look at. Someone keeps talking about this offensive lineman. I think he's going to go in the top 10 anyways. Something Paris
Johnson Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not going to be there where we pick. Right?
I would say probably not. However, you never know. If this draft is, listen, there's probably three. I mean, I think it's easy. Suffice to say right now that there's for sure 3 quarterbacks that are going to go in the first 10 picks. Maybe even, a 4th quarterback will go in the top half of the draft in Anthony Richardson, which I wouldn't take him in the first half of the draft personally. But the quarterbacks are always going to push up, and they're going to push good prospects down. This is a very, very strong draft at the cornerback position. It's a very, very strong, deep draft at the tackle position. And it's a very, very strong draft excuse me, at the edge position. So I think you're going to see a lot of those guys. Some of those guys that you think are going to go are going to be pushed down. Paris Johnson, I don't expect him to reach us, but I'd love it if he did. He's got flexibility. He's probably, I think he's the best tackle in this draft. I think he's a better player than Skoronski. From Northwestern, who's, wherever you look is probably the highest rated offensive tackle. I just don't think that a lot of NFL teams are going to see Skoronski as a pure tackle. He's built in the AVT mode where he's a dominant collegiate player, but he doesn't have the measurables that check all the boxes in the measurables. Got those short arms. Now there's been tackles that have been taken that have kind of beat that rap. The kid from oh God, what's his name? Come on, Chad, help me out. From San Diego, drafted a couple years ago.
When you say short arms, I get nervous because I think of Justin Pugh.
Yeah, Pugh. Yeah,
Justin Pugh with his short little arms. He's a little short arm guy. He's like, I can't scratch my back. My arm is too short.
So Paris Johnson, I think Paris Johnson is a pure. I think in the league he has the ability to be a pure left tackle. But he can also kick into guard if you need him to. If you need him to kind of sit and learn for a little bit, he played guard at Ohio State last year, right next to what's the kid who's drafted by Tennessee in the 3rd round? What is his name? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Anyhow, there was a tackle drafted by the Tennessee Titans in the 3rd round last year, Luis Petit Friere, and he was the left tackle, and the left guard was Paris Johnson.
Wow.
So Johnson, I think, is really good. Skoronski is good. What I love about Skoronski is that he's versatile. He can play center. He's played both tackles, left and right, and he's done it at a ridiculous rate. He's allowed the least amount of pressures in pure pass sets in college football this past year. I think he's only allowed 3 pressures. Playing in the Big Ten is, it's pretty legit. However, like I said, I just don't think he's going to meet or check a lot of the boxes that people are looking for in the measurables. Height, weight, speed, and arm length.
Whatever happened to Rashawn Slater, like Chargers, right? Did he work out?
Yeah, that's the guy I was talking about. The big, thing with him, and even Darrisaw in Minnesota, that they didn't, they were dominant college tackles, but some teams questioned if they'd be able to stay on the outside in the pros because of their arm length and all that stuff.
So some guy is going to watch the safety of Bryant for Alabama tomorrow. I'm excited to watch him. I'm definitely going to watch and see what he does tomorrow in a bowl game.
Brian Branch, man. Remember that name, Jeremy. I told him I told you about him first. He's a player, man. He's he's so good. And again, we talk about Swiss Army knife versatility. He lines up, 50% of the time as a slot cornerback, but he's got the hips and the mobility to roam around in center field. He can get up on the line and be in a box safety at times. And he's probably the surest tackler that I've seen out of the defensive back position in a long time. He just doesn't miss tackles. I think he's credited with 6 missed tackles all season.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation with centers. I mean, because McGovern, I know he struggled the last few games, man. So now I'm starting to, he's up and down on this guy. Up and down on him.
I you know what? He's going to be a big one next year. He's going, because he's in his last year of his he's in the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
30 years old, which is not old for an offensive lineman. He'll have another, he can have another good 3 or 4 seasons left in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want the question is, do you want to commit $12 to $13 million to the position? Because I think he's worth it. I do. But considering all the rest of the positions, that holes that we're going to have to fill, and the cap flexibility being what it is, I just don't know if Joe Douglas and the rest of, the brass are going to look at it and say, yeah, there's no doubt we have to bring back Connor McGovern even if it costs us, 37, 38 million for the next 3 years. Or if they say, okay, we have a $33 million quarterback in Derek Carr now. Now we have to cut some corners. And if that's the way you choose, then you probably let McGovern walk and replace him through the draft.
That's what people have to understand. When we talk about the more expensive quarterbacks, because there are people saying Lamar Jackson, and there's guys who say Derek Carr, and any of these guys, when suddenly you get slapped with a $33 million salary,
mm-hmm.
shit's gonna happen. That means we're gonna have to make compromises in other spots. We have guys coming out of contract. I mean, we've got things we've got to do. Now, I know we're going to free up some space with probably most likely Carl Lawson and Corey Davis. There's going to be some obvious opportunities to clear some space, but we have to also re-sign guys like Bryce Huff and Mike White, possibly, depending on if it's going to be, like there's things we have to figure out, and it's not, the cap is the cap, and the reality is the reality. We don't have unlimited money. So you have to understand, it's like when we talk about things like Derek Carr, even Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, people throw those names around. You have to consider what's the damage. Like, what are we going to have to give up? And who are we going to let go? Because everything is impacted. Suddenly, you might not be able to sign Bryce Huff. Suddenly, Corey Davis will be gone. Nick, obviously, Fant is gone. Carl Lawson will be gone. Like all of a sudden, you have a lot of guys that'll be gone, and you're not going to have any money to replace them. So it's like, yeah, maybe you get Aaron Rodgers or whatever crazy name is being thrown out there. But then if you get it, you have holes on the team, and are they good enough to compensate for those holes? That becomes the question.
So it really, I guess it really depends is, where on the scale do you say, okay, Derek Carr and a second or third round center, say John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota or what ranked centers. There's no Creed Humphrey in this draft. So I don't think there's anyone that's going to probably be higher than a top 50. So even though I think that's where probably right around where Humphrey went. So just say, second or third round is best bet for your center, and say what's more valuable, what could help us more? Is that, do we go with a Derek Carr and knowing that we're not going to be able to sign McGovern, we're going to have to fill and backfill, say, McGovern's salary, or do you say, okay, I'd rather take that $33 million and make it $12 million for Mike White, and that gives us the Avery Davis and have Connor McGovern's tests on and the real difference on what makes good general managers and bad general managers, right? Is the guys that kind of roll the dice and get it right. You always want to build a pipeline. You want to something happened on my computer. You always want to build a pipeline and do it right. So the draft is important to help fill that pipeline, and decisions are going to come to, okay, for us to get from here to here at the quarterback position means we're going to have to come down from Will outside line, the off-ball linebacker position or the safety position or so on and so forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but there's plenty of good, there's plenty of talented players, in the draft at the center position that if we said, okay, I'm going to go with a rookie, I'm going to take John Michael Schmitz in the second round and he's going to be my center for the next 10 years. Like, I don't think many people are going to bat an eye. It's not like you're saying, although I like McGovern and I think he's more than he's better than serviceable. I think he's better. I think he's above average. I don't think that you're going to have to, again, kind of weigh out and say, is it better to run the risk and go from an average can get to average or above average quickly if it means that you upgrade at the quarterback, Center, and for those who don't know or who aren't keen on these draft picks, especially the center position, the kid from Minnesota would be an outstanding fit in our offense. He's built for the outside zone. He is a phenomenal. He gets into the second level. He's big. He's 6'4", 320 pounds, but he moves like a gazelle, and he's got these long arms and strong hands. He gets his hands on you and you don't get away from him. And he does that at the line of scrimmage, and he can get into the second level and do it. Like he's a real talented kid. I'm talking about Schmitz.
Can you imagine if we got Brian and Schmitz? Like, imagine we got both of these guys. Imagine first round we shore up our free safety for years to come, right? We get our stud guy. And then second round, we shore up our center for the next 5 to 10 years. How awesome would that be?
Oh man, crazy, right?
And those are 2 hits, and that's what I love. People get so into position and this and that, but the key thing is to hit. You have to hit on your picks.
Yeah.
That's what matters more than anything. It's like, forget about position. You have to hit. And those are 2 guys that from what you're saying, I mean, it feels like, boom, those are plug and play starters that make our team better. And this is already such a good young team. So can you even imagine what it would be like adding guys like this?
Yeah. Listen, truth be told, especially if and I hate to keep going down this road. Did I lose you, Jeremy? Did I freeze?
Oh, you froze for a little bit.
Yeah, my internet's going in and out a little bit. But if we sign, not to go down this rabbit hole with Derek Carr, again, but just say that we do sign him, I highly anticipate Joe Douglas to trade out of the first round and trade back and start to accumulate more cheaper players, because we're not going to be able to, that $33 million is going to constitute some guys that we might have re-signed. So now you're going to have more holes to fill again. It's kind of like a domino effect.
Right. Let's trade back. Let's get some more picks.
Let's get some more players.
Let's get
the younger guys, the cheaper guys that can, fill roster spots, because we're not going to be able to go out there and re-sign Connor McGovern and LaMarcus Joyner and Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams and so on and so forth.
Then we have to hope he hits.
Yeah.
We have to hope he hits if that's what it comes down to. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up.
Is it go Hangard? What's that?
No, like, say what you're gonna say. I'm gonna wrap it up after you're done.
No, absolutely. The offensive tackle position in this draft is very, very deep. I know everyone's very, very antsy for an early first rounder, but I don't think the talent drop off is that bad in the second or third round also, as opposed to some other positions. So although I'm all for drafting an offensive tackle, I don't think it's as paramount importance in the first round, because I think the overall depth of position is very, very good.
Remember, we got Max Mitchell in the 4th round. And also, as Green Bean always says, you don't always have to draft your offensive lineman in the first round. There's the second, the third, the fourth. These are real rounds in the draft that real championship teams like New England's, like Pittsburgh, like Baltimore, like Green Bay have traditionally gotten good players. And guess what? I think we have a GM that's putting us at the level of those other organizations. We're going to continue, I believe, to get really good players in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. We no longer have to think that the only way we can get a good player is the first round pick.
Yeah.
So we can fill holes with our later picks.
Yeah,
and I think a trade back for like more picks. You trade back, and instead of that 1 pick, you get like 3 picks. So we get a second rounder, an extra third rounder, and then maybe a 5th. I mean, Joe Douglas can make that very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
anyway, I got corned beef to heat up and smoke.
Nice.
Yeah, from Katz's Deli. So my wife is waiting. So I think it's time we do that. And I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank Dom C for your awesome insight and analysis. And is there anything you want to say? You got anything coming out that people need to know about?
No, like I said, I'm my draft guide will be out at some point, hopefully by the end of January. Where a real in-depth look at probably the top 200 to 300 prospects in the draft. I know I don't want to get too far in the offseason because we still got a very live season going on right here, right now. So, we'll have plenty of time to talk about prospects, guys. Please, if you ever want to, I'm always available and I'm always open for it. So hit me up on Twitter, drop me a DM or shoot me a message on Twitter. I'll talk prospects with you any day, anytime, anywhere.
And as soon as that draft guide is available, we will be letting you know exactly how to acquire it. So as soon as it's ready to go, we'll give you all the instructions on how you can get the draft guide. I'm excited for it, and I know that it'll come in handy for the mock drafts, and also it'll be a lot more fun to watch the draft next year.
And
it's always fun to know about the players that are being picked.
Absolutely. And one more thing about it, not trying to kind of take over here, but any profits made from the draft guide will not be kept. I am donating every single dime that I'm selling it for to charity. I don't want any of it. I do the stuff anyway, so I'm not. This is not done for profit or anything like that. This is just more so we all have a better and a deeper understanding of the guys that we're looking at. And that's it, man. And Happy New Year to everyone, man. Let's be safe. Please don't drink and drive. Call an Uber. Stay home. Sometimes that's even better. And let's ring out the new year with a win in Seattle.
Sounds good to me. See you guys on Sunday. I'll be a Green Bean at New York, a Green Bean Jets fan. See ya at the watch party. If you're not, then I'll see you at the reaction party. Everybody have an amazing weekend. Again, thanks for all your support. Thanks for being here. And of course, as always, go Jets.
Go Jets.
Greatest co-host in the world. Y2K99. Get ready to rumble.
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly crevasse.
That is the best intro I have ever received.
The world. The Buffalo Jets fan.
Yo.
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be. I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well. You know, it's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4.3 speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
Right.
To get
You're a
onto
cheater.
you, I'm a cheater.